processing. And that same design can be used for any processing as long as it's organic in the South. You can use it for aquaculture, which is catfish or any other fish, striped bass or tilapia. But you can use that same design, that same closed loop system I came up with, and you can end up doing it into any town. So that is the exciting thing about this, is that coming in at this level, we could end up putting it in place that we goes afterwards in any town USA. It'll be getting more and less and less and less and less, but you get a little piece of that action. Because we have over 250 cross-marketed domains in the sustainable, green, conservation, and eco domains. And they all can point to cotton plant and these businesses. We have cotton plant catfish company, we have green community development, green community developer, cotton. Well, I can end up showing you. I mean, Zachary, if you can go in there and get my it can't be my voice.
Okay.
But do you have any other questions in how this works? Yes, sir.
How would the investor be protected? In other words, you come in and you take somebody's money and you're not issuing any stocks. How would they be protected?
First of all, what Quayle was saying was, how do we do it with $20? You know, $20 and 100,000 people, right? That right there is not a huge amount of money to say I need to be protected on. When you're talking about a certain net amount, you have to be protected and you have to fall under certain rules and regs of the Stocks and Securities Commission. You have to have a certain net worth. Because I'm not even allowed to even speak about that really, truly, unless you did have that net worth. But we're talking about it as community. We're talking about it as family right now.
What if you collect?
It'll go into a fund. It'll go into a fund and the stocks will be issued.
Who will control it?
You can decide amongst the group who is on the board.
Who will have the authority to disperse it?
It would be whomever you probably elected as a membership group. It would probably be the membership group, and that's the best structure. We would look at the different structures that are best suited and best designed already to put into place to protect you at the maximum capacity. So what we do, and I can't tell you what that is today because we've just talked about this $20 in, and I'd have to check with the attorneys on that how that will work. But so let's say you put $100 worth in, and you want to make sure that's protected. First of all, it can't be spent. It has to be put into this fund. Your name is in there. You have $100. But then you have the other 1,000 people, or 50,000, or 100 people that have their $100 in. They put it in, their names on it. Once we end up looking at what business plan, if we're going to be going for the first one, which is about a $2 million in, we look at how that structure is going to be put forth to where whatever comes at this fund, so let's say we only raise $50,000 or $100,000 in this fund, not $1 million. Well, $100,000 is not $2 million. It's only $100,000 of $2 million.
Who pays for the right to plan? Somebody.
You could go ahead. You and your group, and the group themselves will end up watching. Everything will be open. It'll all be called. It's called transparency. So you can have and know exactly what is going on with that monies, but that monies will not be invested until we have the rest of those monies in place.
Who would what bank or insurance company would
it would be whatever bank that the CFO. Once we end up doing it, the other investor, the $1 million investor that we're going to be getting, they'll have something to say about where that money is being held. It's in that escrow account. After a certain period of time, they normally have a time limit. They normally do it sometimes it's a 6-month time limit, sometimes it's a year time limit. If that time limit reaches a point and we haven't raised the rest of the monies to start the project, then that money is dispersed back to the ones that gave it to you, and you'll be listed. So, and we'll probably end up doing you'll probably be able to get on you'll probably most likely have the internet. We'll be able to show you exactly where we are. We'll always have a phone. There'll be some expenses that we'll be dealing. Once we start raising those monies, the investor on the other side can put up operational expenses. There might be a certain amount that we put in for operational expenses, Joe, because we have to operate with a phone and being able to let our investors know what's going on. There's only a certain amount that can be done in a certain amount of investors under certain structures. Sometimes it's 30 some odd. Some of it is unlimited. If it has to do with $5 million, you can raise up to $5 million with unlimited. There's lots of different variations, and once we end up seeing the type of interest, then of course between Joe's on the board, we have a great board of directors, and they will structure it.
You have a business plan now.
Mm-hmm.
Have you taken it to an investor and back it, and they tell you how much money they need in order for
the investors? We have taken it to different investors. We have different investors right now. Still, the economy has been wreaking havoc with lots of people's cash right now. We've had some investors that have taken it and said, hey, this is a great idea, and they started to develop a little bit of it off on their own.
Banks.
Oh, the banks. No, I have not taken it to any banks.
People that's going to provide the capital.
Well, we have not taken it to get it as a loan base. I've not done it as a loan base. We're going as a private investor.
Yeah, I understand that. But don't you, when you write a plan, when you go to a lender to find out how much money is this a good plan, and how much money would I need from other investors for you to get money from the bank to carry this plan out?
You're talking about a loan.
But you're not doing any loans. You're not trying to make any loans.
We're not.
Well, you're eventually going to have an IPO, right?
We have a PPM. We have a private placement memorandum. We're not doing loans from the banks. We could go to a bank loan. We could go that route. And once we end up having a certain amount, then you can have the loan based for the bank. But we haven't gone to the banks to do that lending position because it's a risk. This is risk capital. It is a PPM, a private placement memorandum.
Why would anybody want to invest in something that's going to be something to lose your investment?
Well, hopefully it's not. You read the plan. If you don't want to participate, you read the plan. You say this is a solid plan. This is my community. The numbers look. They've done their homework. They've got all their people in place. The market is right. What happened in the catfish? And just let me give you a little history of what happened in the catfish market. 3 years ago, when biofuels started to happen, called soybean oil, called biodiesel, what biodiesel and corn did to the farmers of catfish was it drove them completely out of business because they could not afford the food to feed their fish. So you had a tremendous amount of farmers, catfish farmers, that actually took down their levees and they planted soybeans where their catfish were because they couldn't afford it. Plus, there was a company called the American Seafood Corporation, and they locked in the catfish farmers to a 55 cents a pound on the head, raw fish, lock-in for that year. At the same time, biodiesel came in and drove the prices of feed way, way up to over $400 a ton. And catfish eat a lot of food. It drove all these catfish farmers out of the market. Now, you've got catfish farmers that are starting to come back up. You have a lot of empty catfish ponds. We have all the people, the best in the business, the wine millers. They had over at 1.5 thousand acres of water in Mississippi and in Arkansas. But when all of this started to happen to the catfish farmers, they're the ones that also hurt. But they know the business. So they're part of our business plan. They can raise those catfish, and they know what it is to end up getting those small fish fried and raising them to bigger fish, about 3/4 of a pound to a pound, which is a gourmet food market size, within that first year cycle, from 6-inch fingerlings. So we've done all of our homework. We've done all of our homework, and now we have the Gulf disaster, where seafood is very affected. And you can also do freshwater shrimp in shallow ponds with catfish. Different ponds, of course.
Feed source now, where would they get the feed source?
Feed sources now are down to less than $300 a ton because biodiesel is not using soy or corn, but then you don't have the catfish. You don't have the catfish market. We have the processing plant, and now a lot of processors went out, but we still have a processing plant, and we have a sustainable design, which is not going to cost. You know what the most cost is for processing? Energy. And that's why a lot of processors went out of business, because they couldn't afford the energy bills to run their plants. But we have almost free energy plan. We've got a plan that'll cut costs, and give us byproducts. So now we're not talking one thing, which is food fish. We're talking about food fish, waste, energy, cut costs, and to be able to have a piece of a much bigger, broader, multifaceted investment action.
If everything goes like you planned, what would your startup be?
We're looking at a $2 million.
I mean, a startup date.
A startup date. We have to see where everybody is. Our general manager is part of the military. He had to go back into the military, but we need to see where he is. He's actually run 4 catfish plants in the South.
I think what he's asking is, if we realistically, if we were to raise $2 million, because that's really what
If we had it today,
yeah, if you had it, how soon could you start?
2.5 months.
That's what you
But
think.
we're in almost October now. We're in September now. So it will take us, and I'm going to talk to you realistically, it'll take us, we have equipment that we know, some used equipment, some of it's in McCrory. We're going to buy used equipment. We don't need a fully big, all automated operation. We can do a lot of manual. That's where our jobs come in. We're going to have our trainers. It takes about 2 months, good 7 to 8 weeks, to train our community to how to fillet fish. We don't need any fingers gone, So we need some of the best trainers, and our trainer is the guy that is in Atlanta that was part of the military. So I need to see where he is right now, as of today. But it takes about 8 weeks to go ahead and get that training done. It'll take us about 3 to 5 weeks to locate the equipment. It'll need about the same amount of time to get the building ready, because a lot of the copper got stolen. You know reasons why that happened. So our copper got stolen, so we have to replace some electrics. We also need to very quickly, which can be done within a couple of weeks, to build an extension of a cooling room. The cooling room that was in there was just too small. So we need to extend the cooling room, but we have those building materials, because they're EPS building materials. We have them waiting. We can get those immediately. So all of those things would give us about a 2 month to 2.5 month startup, which would bring us into November. Now in November, the latter part of October and November, is the height of the catfish buying season, because of all the holidays. All the Jewish holidays, all the holidays in the South, and a lot of places don't have enough catfish. But we have a buyer. We have the woman, Tammy Weinmiller, that knows all the farmers in the South, because she sold them fingerlings all those years in business. So she knows the farmers, and she can get the catfish. So because we have that connection, we can get the catfish to start putting into our processing plant, and we'll try to process all through the year, but we'll start off with what we're doing from probably November to January. It'll probably start to taper off at the end of January, because it's cold. Our design, our aquaculture sustainability plan, also goes with farms. We believe we can keep farms, a lot of those ponds from growing cold all through the year, if we can have them enclosed where the catfish normally need a constant temperature to eat. They won't eat unless it's a constant temperature. But that's a trial that we're going to get funded through USDA and through the university to trial it out. If we're successful in that attempt, it's another story, but that's a very, very big win on this one. But let's just talk about the processing plant. Answer your question about 2 months, 2.5 months. If the capitalization was in our pockets right now. Because we have to end up then making sure we have the contracts for those fish. Any other questions?
How many people would you employ to start?
First realm, about 75, then it will go up to about 125, then it can go up from there. And that's on lines. So it's about lines. And you have one automated line and maybe 2 manual lines. The manual lines are going to be crucial because if we're going to give jobs, we need to be more manual than automated. But on the automated, you still go through and you make sure that the nuggets and things like that don't have the bones in them, and there's that need there. But we have, engineering or mechanical types that are always, if you have a rundown of the line, then you have to take care of that. That's all normally with the automation. There's just lots of extended drivers, things like that. Any other questions?
What have you done to get people that live here interested? Because all of us, we don't live here. Most of us don't live here. How do you get the people that live here interested?
Well, I think this is what Joe and I had the conversation with Mayor Conley about. Because of there's a certain amount of belief, spirit, that has been so downtrodden, so broken, so can't believe it's going to happen, that the energy and the belief is so, yeah, right. Someday, one day, yeah, maybe never. And because of that, and because here it's affected, the community's affected most because it's on the ground zero. We have to show that blood from cotton plant that's coming back in is saying, wait a minute, remember you're worth it. You're worthy. You have to pull together as a community. We have community members fighting against each other, not wanting one person that lives next door to another to succeed, because if they succeed, we won't succeed. But that's not the truth. The truth is when you pull together and you work together, there's plenty for everyone. And what it's going to take, I believe, and I've seen it now 4 years, and I've been a victim of this myself. I was in it today. Your son kept me from, for the very first time, almost saying, I've had enough. I'm out. I can't do it anymore. But you know what? That doesn't move us forward in any way, shape, or form. But the folks here are needing to see that someone is saying, I am going to invest in hometown, and that means you saying, wait a minute, I'm not going to leave cotton plant today. I'm not going to leave on the cotton plant day, and I'm not going to come back until next year. I love my town, I love my family, I love my ancestors. But I'll see them next year. Good luck. I'll send you a turkey at Thanksgiving. And you walk away. That can't happen. You need to see that you're standing by, that you're going to invest. And you're the best people to invest because you'll know people of net worth. You can end up speaking. You can get those family members here involved. And you have to say, you know what? Work together with her. Work together with Joe. Work together with Green Wisdom Arkansas Inc. Because we can't necessarily have the folks here, or at least the city, to make that stand when they themselves are having a hard time even making payroll. So it is about stepping up, and every single person counts. You make the difference. You make the difference. You made a difference when you ended up giving me that check. I remember. We ended up having some folks, making it difficult. So what it is by understanding it, by being here, by standing here, by sitting here, by taking your time, that says that you care. And what matters is now the action in what you do today, or what you do tomorrow. How you talk to your friends, how you talk to your remainder of your family that's not here today. How you end up keeping in touch with Joe and say, hey, I'm in. What can I do? What can I do? I only have this many hours. I only have this type of income. I don't know if I even have, the ability to, speak about it. But all you can do is say what you can do. And that is going to be up to you to figure that out.
This is the day after Paula's historical overview of sustainable redevelopment and her rationale for believing that Cotton Plant, Arkansas would be an ideal place to be a showcase for sustainability. This is the morning of September the 5th, 2010. This is Dr. Joe Connor. Today, Paula and I will be taking a tour of Cotton Plant to document what facilities are here and how this represents the model town for sustainability. And this is what we will be able to share with the world.